There is a reason you've been crying in silence. There's a reason your life has felt like a battlefield, even on days when nothing seems to be happening. And if you're listening to this right now, it's not a coincidence. It's confirmation. You've been marked, chosen, set apart by the Most High. And though the world tried to bury you in pain, betrayal, and rejection, I'm here to tell you that pain is not a punishment. It's a prophecy. It's the undeniable proof of your destiny. You've walked through seasons where the ground beneath your feet seemed to shake, where friends turned to strangers and family didn't recognize your soul, where love disappeared like vapor and prayers felt like echoes returning unanswered. But what they didn't see, what even you may not have fully grasped, is that God wasn't absent. He was working in the silence, refining you, preparing you, setting the stage for something far greater than the suffering you endured. Do you remember those nights? The ones where your chest felt hollow, your mind a battlefield of voices saying, "You're not enough, you're forgotten, you're broken beyond repair." You weren't losing yourself. You were shedding what no longer served you. That pain, that isolation, that confusion, all of it was the heat that forges the sword, the fire that awakens the warrior. You weren't being punished, you were being prepared. See, you are not like the others. You were never meant to fit in. And that's why you've been misunderstood. The light you carry exposes shadows in others, and they don't know what to do with it. They can't name it, so they try to shame it. But you were never meant to be named by this world. God has already called you by name. He calls you chosen. He calls you redeemed. He calls you His. There's something different about you, and you've always known it. Even as a child, you saw deeper, felt more. You noticed what others missed and carried wounds others couldn't see. You were sent here not to conform, but to awaken, not to blend in, but to shift the very atmosphere. But first, you had to be stripped, you had to be emptied, you had to walk through the fire alone so that when you emerged, you would know exactly who carried you through. This is where the world got it twisted. They thought your silence was weakness. They mistook your isolation for defeat. They whispered that you were forgotten, irrelevant, left behind. But God has been speaking your name in heavenly places, and He's been hiding you, not to punish you, but to protect the oil you carry. That anointing on your life, it's dangerous to the enemy. It's threatening to the systems of darkness. And that's why the attacks came so early. That's why the pain was so deep, because the enemy saw something in you before you saw it in yourself. But what the enemy meant for evil, God is turning for your good. Look around you, look at your life. Every closed door, every broken promise, every person who walked away, they were all part of the divine orchestration. You weren't abandoned, you were being aligned. You weren't rejected, you were being redirected. God knew that in order for you to walk in your true authority, He had to pull you away from the counterfeit, from the distractions, from the illusions that tried to claim your identity. The pain you felt, it's not random. It has a pattern, a rhythm, a message. And that message is this: you are chosen for something far greater than what you've survived. Every tear you cried was counted, every sleepless night recorded, every sigh, every silent plea, it reached heaven. And now God is moving, not because you begged, but because you endured, because you didn't fold, because you kept going when your legs were shaking and your heart was shattered. Chosen one, your journey was never about fitting into the mold. It was about breaking it. You've been called to rise, not just for yourself, but for generations. For those who are watching you, silently hoping you make it, because if you do, they'll believe they can too. You see, there's a lineage in you, a legacy, something ancient that was placed in your spirit before you even took your first breath. And the pain you felt, it's generational warfare. You're not just fighting for your own healing, you're breaking patterns that have haunted your bloodline for centuries. That's why it's been so heavy. That's why the weight didn't make sense. You're carrying more than just your story. You're carrying deliverance for others. But I need you to understand this. Your pain did not disqualify you, it qualified you. It's the very proof that you've been handpicked for something sacred. It's not a coincidence that you're still here. After all the trauma, the betrayal, the spiritual warfare, you're still standing. That's divine proof of purpose. God didn't forget you. He concealed you, like a precious seed buried in the soil, waiting for the perfect season to bloom. And though the darkness made you question your worth, the dirt wasn't your grave, it was your birthplace. You've been growing roots, deep ones, roots that can't be shaken when the storms come, roots that anchor you in truth, even when everything around you tries to deceive. This is why the enemy has fought you so violently, because he knew that if you ever realized who you truly are, if you ever stood tall in your divine identity, hell wouldn't be able to stop the ripple effect your life would unleash. You are dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. You are a living, breathing weapon of light, and your very existence is a threat to the lies that have ruled this world for far too long. So breathe, chosen one. Breathe in the truth of who you are. Breathe out the shame that was never yours to carry. This is your turning point, the moment where your pain begins to make sense, where the story starts to shift, where God whispers, "Now is the time." Because yes, the pain was real, but so is the promise. And if you've made it this far, if your spirit is resonating, if your soul feels like it's catching fire from these words, then you already know something holy is rising within you. The world hasn't seen the fullness of you yet, but they will. And when they do, they'll realize that the very one they cast aside was the one anointed to lead. They thought you were weak because you didn't fight back the way they expected. They thought your silence was surrender. But what they failed to realize is that silence is where the chosen ones are forged. You weren't being silent, you were listening to God, listening to something deeper than the noise of this world. And in that stillness, something inside you was awakening. You've been through battles no one saw, fought demons that never left physical marks, the kind of warfare that eats at your soul, nights where you wrestled not with flesh and blood, but with fear, doubt, loneliness, the unseen spirits that test your faith, strip your identity, and try to bury your calling under lies. But you survived. You endured. And every scar on your heart, it's a symbol of victory. You didn't just face opposition, you were targeted. That's the weight of divine assignment. You didn't ask to be chosen, but you were chosen nonetheless, marked with purpose, wrapped in spiritual fire. And that fire burned away everything false. It separated you, sanctified you, sent you into seasons where no one could follow, because the call on your life demanded isolation, demanded pruning, demanded a journey that only you could walk. But let me tell you something, God never wastes a battle. Every betrayal you endured, every loss that gutted you, every dark night you thought would swallow you whole, it was all seen. Every moment, every breath, God was watching, not with judgment, but with the love of a father who knew what was waiting on the other side of your suffering. There were moments you didn't know how you were still standing, moments when you could barely lift your head, let alone your spirit, and yet here you are, still breathing, still standing, still carrying a fire inside you that no storm could put out. That's not coincidence, that's divine design. Because when the chosen ones rise, they don't rise like everyone else. They rise slowly with holy fire in their bones. They rise quietly until their voice shakes the atmosphere. They rise after being broken so their strength cannot be questioned. You are that kind of chosen. And your enemies, they know it. They can feel it now, the shift, the movement in the spirit. Something is changing, and those who once laughed, those who once mocked, those who whispered behind your back, they're trembling now because they sense that you're about to rise, and they know they can't stop it. See, when you're chosen, your battle is never just about you. It's a cosmic war. Your life has stirred the spirit realm. Angels have been assigned to guard you, and demons have been sent to destroy you. And while you may have felt alone in the natural, in the spiritual, you've been surrounded. God has dispatched legions to walk beside you, to lift you when you couldn't move, to cover you when the arrows came too fast, too sharp, too many. That's why some attacks should have taken you out, but didn't. That's why people who did far less than you lost everything, but you kept rising. That's why some doors shut, but other ones open, ones you never knocked on. Because you are not ordinary, you are not random. You were called before the foundations of the earth were laid. You were written into the divine script before time even knew your name. And this pain you've carried, this ache that keeps showing up in your life, it's not your enemy, it's your teacher, it's your confirmation. Pain has shown you who's real and who's not. Pain has forced you to discover strength you never thought you had. Pain has stripped away every illusion, every lie, every false identity that tried to cover up the truth of who you really are. And now you're dangerous. Not because you're loud, not because you seek revenge, but because you're awakened. You've seen too much, felt too much, grown too much to ever go back to who you used to be. And that's terrifying to the forces that tried to control you. Because an awakened chosen one is a weapon forged by the hand of God himself. You're not rising because of ego. You're rising because of truth. Because God is exalting what the world tried to bury. And when God lifts a person, no man, no demon, no system can drag them back down. People will try to figure you out, try to box you in, try to explain away your favor, but they won't be able to. Because your life is about to become a testimony that doesn't make sense to human logic. You're about to walk through doors you didn't go and apply for, be offered opportunities you didn't chase, receive blessings that were tailor-made for your journey, not someone else's. Because what's yours is yours, and no amount of jealousy, manipulation, or sabotage can steal what heaven has ordained. And those who tried to destroy you, they'll have no choice but to watch. They'll have to witness your rise, not because you want revenge, but because God wants vindication. God is not just a healer, he's a just judge. He's about to rule in your favor. And those who thought they got away with hurting you, they're about to realize that God saw every secret conversation, every lie spoken in darkness, every dagger hidden behind a smile. You didn't fight back, not because you were weak, but because you trusted God to fight for you. And he is, right now, quietly, powerfully, perfectly. Heaven is rearranging things on your behalf. Things are shifting behind the scenes, and soon they'll manifest in your life in ways even you didn't expect. But before that happens, let me remind you of something vital. Don't forget who you are. The pain didn't make you, God did. The betrayal didn't define you, his love does. And your identity has never been tied to who left or who stayed, but to the one who never walked away. You are the chosen one, handpicked, set apart, called out of the crowd, not for applause, but for purpose. And every ounce of suffering has prepared you for such a time as this. So don't shrink, don't second guess, don't apologize for your anointing. You didn't ask for this calling, but it found you anyway. And now that it's awakened inside you, there's no turning back. The fire in your bones is real. The power in your voice is rising. The shift in your spirit cannot be denied. Because chosen ones don't just survive, they resurrect. Justice is not just a concept in the heavens. It is a law, a force, an unstoppable wave. And for too long, you've watched in silence as others got away with wounding you. They played innocent while you carried the weight of what they did. They smiled while your world fell apart. But hear this now. God is about to make a public statement with your life. He's about to reveal his justice through you, not behind closed doors, but in plain sight. What was done in the dark is being brought to light. What was whispered in corners is being exposed on rooftops. And not because you seek revenge. No, your heart is too pure for that. Your soul is too elevated for bitterness. This is not your fight, it's God's. And he's saying, I will vindicate you. I will honor the one who stayed faithful through the fire. You've been hidden for a reason, and now you're being revealed for a purpose. This is the season where God flips the script, where the stone the builders rejected becomes the cornerstone, where those who laughed will watch in awe, where tables turn and your name, once dismissed, will carry the weight of divine favor, and they won't be able to explain it. Because when God prepares a table in the presence of your enemies, it's not to humiliate them. It's to elevate you in the same arena where you were once humiliated. The pain was proof, yes, but the rise, that's the prophecy fulfilled. You've cried, you've waited, you've questioned, and now God is saying, look again, look at your life through the lens of promise. Look at your journey not as a punishment, but as preparation. Every delay was protection. Every no was a redirection. Every door that slammed shut was heaven's way of saying, I have better for you. You're stepping into a reversal of fortunes, a divine undoing of everything that tried to break you. And not just in the spiritual realm. This shift is manifesting in your relationships, your finances, your influence, your health, your clarity, your peace. Where there was once confusion, there will be direction. Where there was once loss, there will be restoration. Where there was once mourning, there will be dancing. You are not who you were when the pain started. You are wiser now, stronger, spiritually refined. And God does not waste refinement. He uses it to build foundations that can carry glory. You were being prepared not just to receive blessings, but to carry them with humility and wisdom. You weren't just being tested, you were being trusted. That's why it hurt so deeply, because the assignment was so sacred. And now you're being called forward, called out of the shadows, called into a season where heaven backs every step you take. You don't have to force your way into rooms. God is placing you in them. You don't have to beg to be seen. God is revealing you. You don't have to chase validation. The divine signature on your life is all the proof you need. But I know, it's still hard to believe sometimes, isn't it? After everything you've been through, part of you wonders if joy is even possible anymore. If peace is real or just another illusion. Let me tell you, from one soul who's walked through darkness and emerged into light, peace is real. Joy is possible. Healing is not only coming, it's already begun. You're not the same broken vessel you once were. You've been mended by the hands of the Master, and there's a beauty in you now that can't be manufactured by the world. It's the beauty of endurance, of having suffered much but lost nothing essential, of having been torn apart but never destroyed. You are whole, not because life has been easy, but because grace has been sufficient. And I need you to hear this in your spirit. You are not too late. You are not too old. You are not too far gone. You haven't missed your moment. In fact, your moment has been waiting on you to see yourself clearly, to rise with awareness, to realize that everything that happened to you was actually happening for you. Because God's justice doesn't just punish evil, it restores the righteous. This is your restoration season. And no, it won't come the way you expected. It's not about everything going back to how it used to be. It's about something new being born, something better. You don't need the past to return. You need the future God has already prepared. The one where your name carries honor. The one where your voice breaks chains. The one where your presence shifts rooms because of the light you carry. Don't hide anymore. Don't shrink back. The days of survival are over. This is the hour of thriving. You're not just here to exist. You're here to rule in alignment with heaven's authority. You're not just here to heal. You're here to ignite healing in others. Your journey is someone else's hope. Your scars are someone else's roadmap. So rise, stand tall, speak boldly, pray without ceasing, move with purpose, love without fear, and walk like the royalty you are. The enemy tried to silence you. Life tried to disqualify you, but God has the final word, and that word is victory. Not partial, not maybe, not someday, but now. Victory is yours, and you don't need to understand all the details to receive it. You just need to believe again, trust again, Let the walls around your heart begin to fall. Let the healing waters in. Let the truth wash over you. You were chosen for this, designed for this, sent for this. And if this is resonating with your soul, if you feel something stirring, rising, moving inside your spirit right now, then don't brush it off. That's confirmation. That's the voice of God echoing through these words saying, I see you, I know you, I've called you. You are not forgotten. You are not forsaken. You are not finished. You are just getting started. So here's your call to action. Not for me, but for you. Speak life over yourself, out loud. Say it, I am chosen, I am protected, I am rising. Say it again, say it until your soul believes it. Say it until every lie is silenced and every truth stands tall. Because everything that's been trying to stop you is already losing its grip. And everything God has for you is already on its way. Have you ever wondered why the warfare on your life has been so relentless? Why the attacks were so personal, so surgical, so deep? It's not random, it's not bad luck, it's divine mathematics. Because when God places a mighty calling on a soul, the enemy reacts with precision. He doesn't waste energy on the comfortable or complacent. He targets the dangerous ones, the ones who carry the power to shift atmospheres, to break cycles, to set captives free. And that's you. That's why it's been so heavy. But hear this, what attacked you wasn't proof of your weakness. It was evidence of your spiritual influence. The ones who hurt you, the ones who betrayed you, they weren't just responding to your personality. They were reacting to your presence. Your spirit made them uncomfortable, not because you were wrong, but because your light exposed their shadows. You weren't fighting people. You were facing spirits operating through people. That's why their behavior didn't make sense. Why they turned cold for no reason. Why love turned into competition. Why they tried to dim you when all you wanted to do was love them well. It wasn't personal to them, it was spiritual to you. And now that you see it clearly, you can stop blaming yourself. It was never about being too much or too sensitive or not enough. You were a mirror reflecting back to them what they were afraid to see in themselves. Your mere presence activated their hidden wounds, their insecurities, their unhealed trauma, and instead of healing, they chose to project. Instead of embracing your heart, they attacked your soul. But here's the deeper truth. They were necessary. Painful, yes. Unjust, absolutely, but necessary, because they pushed you into the wilderness where you finally encountered God for yourself, where your identity was no longer tied to their approval, their support, or their applause. It was in the solitude, in the rejection, in the heartbreak, that you remembered who you were, chosen. See, there's a paradox that follows the chosen ones. You get hurt the most, but you heal the deepest. You're attacked often, but you recover quicker. You lose more, but you rise higher. It doesn't make sense to the world, but it makes perfect sense to heaven. God allows the pressure because He knows what's inside of you. He knows that without the crushing, the oil can't flow. Without the fire, the gold remains hidden. Without the storm, the roots can't grow deeper. You weren't born for comfort, you were born for glory. And the price of carrying divine fire is pain. Not because God wants to harm you, but because He wants to refine you. He wants to trust you with more. And if He's going to trust you to heal others, you have to first survive what almost destroyed you. That's why He allowed the very thing you prayed would never happen. Because He knew it would wake up a deeper version of you. A stronger version, a wiser version. One that could no longer be manipulated, distracted, or deceived. You see, when you're chosen, your pain is prophetic. It points to your power, and the enemy knew that if he couldn't stop your purpose, he'd try to poison your perception. He'd make you doubt yourself, make you shrink, make you settle, and for a while it worked. But now, your vision is clearing. Now you see through the illusions, you see the patterns, you see the cycles, and more than anything, you see your mission. You weren't just sent here to survive your pain. You were sent to transform it, to rise from it, to take the very thing that broke you and use it as the foundation to build something eternal. Your pain birthed your power, your wounds birthed your wisdom, and your suffering birthed your service. Because the truth is, your calling isn't about you. It's about what flows through you. And now that you've been purified through fire, now that you've been stripped of ego and cleansed of codependency, God can finally release the full weight of your assignment. But don't be surprised if some people still try to keep you small. They remember the version of you that didn't know who you were, the one who apologized for existing, the one who bent over backward just to feel loved. But that version of you died in the wilderness. And what rose in its place is a warrior, a prophet, a vessel that carries the presence of the Most High. You are no longer who they remember, and you owe no one an explanation. So walk forward with holy confidence, not arrogance, confidence. Because when God affirms you, you don't need permission from man. When heaven validates your identity, no earthly rejection can shake you. You no longer need to convince anyone. You simply need to be. And here's where it gets real. Your mission is going to trigger people. Your success will offend those who only knew you in seasons of struggle. Your peace will confuse those who benefited from your chaos. Your clarity will disrupt the plans of those who hoped you'd stay lost. But don't shrink. Don't explain. Don't return to the prison God already walked you out of. The attack was personal because the calling is generational. There's legacy in you, nations in you, healing in you, books, songs, businesses, ministries, revolutions locked inside your spirit. And the pain, that was the labor, that was the stretching, that was the evidence that you are carrying something the world desperately needs. So protect it, guard it, honor it, because not everyone will understand it, and they're not supposed to. Your mission is not to be understood. It's to be obedient, to follow the voice of the one who saw you worthy of the fire and trusted you to walk through it without losing your faith. Chosen one, everything you went through has aligned you with destiny. Every battle sharpened you. Every betrayal softened you. Every loss recalibrated your heart. And now you don't move from fear, you move from truth. You're not reacting anymore. You're responding to divine instruction. You're not hiding anymore. You're stepping forward, crowned not by man, but by purpose. You're not begging anymore. You're attracting what aligns with your soul. This is the moment you stop asking, "Why me?" and start declaring, "Yes, me. Yes, I'm chosen. Yes, I'm ready. Yes, I survived for a reason." Because the pain wasn't random. It was the proof. And now it's your time to rise with the authority of one who knows. God never wastes a wound. Look at you, still breathing, still standing. After everything that tried to break you, you're still here, and not just barely surviving, you're becoming the person God always knew you were. And now the fog is lifting. The sorrow is loosening its grip. What once felt like the end is revealing itself to be a divine beginning. And not just any beginning, your appointed moment in time. You were never forgotten. You were never abandoned. You were never passed over. The silence wasn't rejection, it was reverence. God was hiding you in plain sight, preserving you from what would have spoiled your spirit too soon. He had to cover you so that the enemy couldn't contaminate your calling before it was fully matured. But now the heavens are opening. Now the soil that held you is giving way, because your roots are deep enough. You're not the seed anymore. You are the tree. You are the harvest. You are the living evidence that divine timing always outweighs temporary pain. Chosen one, this world tried to name you by your wounds, but heaven already named you by your worth. You were never just another person trying to make it. You were always marked. And now everything you've endured is becoming your oil. The kind of oil that can't be copied, can't be mimicked, can't be bought. It was crushed into you. That's why you carry such weight in your presence. That's why your words cut through confusion and bring peace. That's why people are drawn to you, even if they don't understand why. They feel something sacred in you. They feel the residue of fire, but not of ashes, the scent of heaven, but not of arrogance, the humility of someone who's been through hell and refused to let it change their heart. Because that's who you are now. You don't need to prove yourself. You don't need to shout to be heard. You don't need to explain the path you've taken. The fruit in your life will speak louder than any voice raised against you. And those who once dismissed you will have to say, surely God's hand is on them. There will be vindication, yes, but more than that, there will be restoration. Not just of what you lost, but of who you are. The version of you that existed before the world tried to edit your soul, before trauma rewrote your confidence, before people distorted your reflection. God is restoring that version, refined, not erased, matured, not manipulated, strengthened, not shattered. Let that settle in your spirit. You are whole again, not because everything is perfect, but because everything now serves your purpose. And here's what I need you to know. There are others watching you, quietly, silently, hoping that your rise is real. Because if you can get back up, they'll believe they can too. Your victory is not just yours, it's collective. It sends shockwaves into bloodlines, into households, into communities. You are the breaker, the generational curse ender, the one who said, "This stops with me." You've earned your crown not by title, but by perseverance. And you wear it not for glory, but for guidance. Others will follow the trail your tears left behind. And when they find you, they won't find someone bitter. They'll find someone holy, someone kind, someone forged by fire and filled with light. So don't second guess what God is doing. Don't let fear creep in now. You've passed the test. You've stood your ground. You've been faithful when no one was watching. Now let heaven reward you publicly for what you endured privately. And yes, you will love again, trust again, dance again. There is joy waiting that will erase the memory of weeping. There is peace so deep it will silence every anxious thought. There is provision coming that will make you forget the years of scarcity. And there is divine connection rising that will make you forget the betrayals that almost crushed your heart. You are not entering a new chapter, you are entering a new book, one written by the hand of God Himself, and every page turns in your favor. But remember this, stay humble, stay grounded. Don't allow your healing to turn into pride. What God gives, He protects, but He also requires stewardship. Stay in the posture of gratitude, stay in the place of prayer, stay in the rhythm of obedience, and watch how He multiplies what He placed in your hands. You were chosen, not because you were perfect, but because you were willing to be different, willing to go deeper, willing to lose the crowd in order to follow the cloud. You said yes when it hurt. You stayed when others ran. You believed when hope was scarce. And now your harvest is here. Not because of who you are, but because of whose you are. So today, I bless your journey. I bless your process. I bless your future. May the fire that refined you never consume you again. May the chains that once held you never return. May your voice shake heavens and awaken souls. May your life be a continual revelation of God's mercy, power, and love. Speak your truth, chosen one. Walk in grace, move in boldness, and let the world see what happens when someone survives the fire and comes out shining brighter than ever before. Because you didn't just survive it, you transcended it. And now your light cannot be ignored. This was never just about pain. This was prophecy being fulfilled. This was destiny becoming visible. Go now, go shine. Heaven is watching. The world is waiting. And your time is now.